Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of In the Prog Seat. We've got the crew together. We're going to start a little series. It's actually not that little. We're going to kind of expand on something that I did on a monthly show, about a year or two ago, where I talked about my favorite bands by the alphabet. So I started on the first day of the month and I did letter A, my favorite band that starts with letter A, favorite band or artist. And each day of the month I did each day of the alphabet. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do a little twist on that is we're going to do that on In the Prog Seat. So we're going to talk, and this is going to be every week. We may break it up from time to time just to get a little week break from it, but it's going to be going on for a good part of the rest of the year. And each week we're going to do a letter, obviously, and we'll start with A today. And all of us on the panel are going to pick our top three prog metal fusion bands or artists that start with the letter A. And we're going to work our way all the way to the letter Z. So we've got in the house for the beginning of favorite bands A to Z, Mr. Stephen Reed, all the way from Scotland. Chad Hutchinson's in the house. George Lemie is in the house. Ken Golden, the professor of prog, is here. Back for the first time in a few weeks, like probably over a month. He's been out on tour in Chile. He's back in Mexico. He's back in Chicago fairly soon. Mr. Louis Nasser. Greetings, everyone. How's it going?
Hey.
Hi, guys. What's up, man? It's really good to be back. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you back. Good to have you
Louis,
back.
people were worried.
Were they?
Yeah, there are people actually coming. Like, where's Louis and why isn't he on?
Yeah.
Well, we can assure them I was not abducted by the narcos.
Well,
at least not yet.
It didn't help that I said you. It didn't help that I said you were deported. But
many people actually did ask me that. I have to admit, I have to explain to them that I'm a citizen. Nobody believes me, so that's.
Well, it's not okay. The accent.
No.
So he couldn't make it tonight. Right. So we wanted to kind of start it off, and we do have Anthony's picks, A for Anthony. So we're going to have George read off Anthony's picks. But before we do that, in honor of Anthony, for the letter A today, we've got.
Burning.
George, what are Anthony's three picks for the letter A?
We just showed them.
You guys,
that's it, right? There's nothing else.
John Anderson was the first one. Second one is Astra. Third one is Anecdote.
Three good picks.
Yeah, really good picks.
Are we highlighting a specific album as well?
Yeah, if you got them, yeah. I guess going forward, we should probably pick our favorite album from each of our bands.
Yeah, I didn't know if we were doing that. So.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll do one at a time. We'll go through the crew three times here. So we'll go in the same order that I just named everybody. So we'll go Stephen, Chad, George, Ken, Louis, myself, and we'll go three times around. So Stephen, your first pick for the day for letter A.
Okay, so A is for. Not that you can see his name on the front here at all. This is Lee Abraham. Okay, so he has now released, I think 10 solo albums, Lee Abraham. He debuted in 2003, but I must admit that I became aware of him when he joined the band Galahad on bass a couple of years later. Released an album with them, and then he left again in 2009. He's now back with them, but on guitar. And that in itself kind of tells you he's a bit of a virtuoso, can turn his hand to many things. And the album that I've picked out is The Season's Turn. But he's got a number of really good albums. Distant Days, Comatose, Only Human. They're all really good. I like this one as well because it's got an excellent cast list. You've got guys like Mark Colton from Credo, Dec Burke, Simon Godfrey, Rob Arnold, Martin Orford. There's loads of people on this one. But it's about the songs. Lee does it. He does that kind of something I'm probably going to cover quite a lot doing this. That really current UK prog style that really seems to be on the resurgence. Yes, he pulls from the past. You can kind of sense that the 70s influence is in there, but he's a guy that can kind of modernise that a little bit. And he does like an epic. The album opens with a title track, and it's nearly 25 minutes long. really involved, lots of different sequences, and there's lots of different ideas and influences brought together there, but it sounds really cohesive. And I just think that he's a real undersung kind of, not hero, but one of the undersung acts of the current scene at the moment. So my first choice is Lee Abraham.
All right, Chad.
All right, my first pick is a little bit of a lesser known Swedish band. Came out with one album in 1979, and that band is Atlas. Real strong Genesis and Cattle influences in here, all instrumental. Got a little bit of that Scandinavian flair in there, a lot of good vintage keyboards. The tracks range from anywhere from about 3 minutes up to 14. So you get little mini epics or whatever, some extended tracks. But real nice album if you like that kind of symphonic progressive rock. And again, Genesis and Camel influences. No flute, but just some of the melodies would remind you of maybe something off the Snow Goose or something like that. So number one, Atlas. Their only album was called Bla Vardag, 1979.
That's a good one. Nice rarity.
Yeah. Haven't played that in a long time.
Yeah, I haven't either. I looked at it today when I was going through all my stuff. I'm like, yeah, good stuff. George.
My number 3 is Arch Matthios. For those that don't know, this is 2 of the guys from the mid 80s version of Fate's Warning. They stayed friends all through the years. While Arch was off making cabinets, Matthios kept Fate's Warning going. When John decided to get back in the scene, they hooked up. They did an EP in 2003, and then they did this full album in 2011. Basically, it's like a heavier version of what modern Fate's Warning is doing. The Fate's Warning backup band is the band on the album also. He brought them all in to play on this. And for me, I listened to John Arch sing an instruction manual, and Bobby Jarzambek's a top 3 metal drummer at worst. So I was completely in on this. And the most recent one in 2019, I think is even a touch better. But if you like anybody involved, you'll like Arch Matthios.
Top notch. Good pick. Very cool. All right, Ken.
Well, I'm just tell everybody that under penalty of being sent to the House of Pain, I've eliminated the list tonight. So
No racquetball picks tonight. I've been warned. So also there's a few bands that are A bands that I talk about ad nauseum. So I'm eliminating them. I'll stick them in my honorable mentions at the end because I wanted to dig a little deep. I think it'd be more fun if I dig a little deep. So my first album is a pretty obscure one, and if I can get it right, it's called Ablution. There we go. This was a one-off. I think it was 74, maybe 73. It was a one-off album that only came out in Sweden. And it's kind of weird. It's this all-star jazz rock one-off. It's John Gustafsson and Peter Robinson from Catermass. And everybody knows that Peter Robinson went on to play with Brand X. Barry D'Souza, who's a very well-known British session drummer. And then it's got the Swedish contingent. You have Bjorn Jason Lind on flute. You have Yanni Schaefer on guitar. And then there's a bunch of Swedish percussionists. And it's this fantastic fusion album. There's just incredible soloing from Yanni Schaefer. Peter Robinson's playing mini Moog lines that are great. He plays a lot of funky clavinet. There's a lot of unison lines with the flute and the synthesizer. It gets spacey at times. And then it kind of jumps back into the fusion side. I don't know if they ever played live or anything. It never came out on CD. It should. It's just this killer fusion album, and if you can find it, it's going to cost you a small fortune. I've never heard that.
It's great because you get that delicate side where it's kind of spacey, where Bjorn Jason Lind he's playing flute, and you just get some spacey keyboards behind him, and then all of a sudden it jumps into these these passages where they're just going back and forth. It's great stuff. Ablution.
Cool. Lucian.
Yeah.
Nice. All right,
That's
Lewis.
that's the kind of stuff I'd rather talk about tonight.
It's okay. Hey.
Odd band name though.
All right, my number 3 is a band that I first heard live at Nearfest. It's the Hammers of the Underworld, also known as Alamailman Vasarat. It's an instrumental band. They have one album with vocals that I own, but they're great. They're a phenomenal band with this crazy, brilliant trombone player, then cellos and the sax guy. It's incredible. If you haven't heard them, I would suggest, you really can't go wrong with any of their albums. I can't pronounce their titles, so I'm not even going to try. Plus, I'm not at home, as you can see, so I don't have my records with me. But if you want to look for Alamailman Vasarat, there you go, my man.
If I remember correctly, they woke us all up on a Sunday morning at Nearfest, and
Oh, yeah.
like,
They were
wow.
they were a 2 slot, I believe. But yes,
It was a number 2 slot.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't
Was that-
remember. It was
that-
early though.
Was that Trenton?
Yes,
Lots of Trenton.
I can also attest they are great people to party with.
Yes, they were awesome people.
Yes.
And rest in peace, Arno.
Why do we
Yes.
always hear that from Luis? They're a great band to party with.
Well, this is what I do. They don't call me Lucifer because I'm a church-going guy.
I remember them being sort of like almost like a heavy psychedelic klezmer band
Yeah,
or something. I don't
That's
know.
right.
Yeah.
Yep. They were the second band day one of Nearfest 2003, in between High Wheel and Tunnels.
I remember High Wheel.
Yeah. Wow. Brings back memories. All right. So, I mean, this was an interesting list to put together. A had some really good ones for me, some other bands that I really like a lot that don't have a lot of output that I, really like and appreciate, but I don't listen to all that much. So I think for me, I went with the 3 that I probably listened to the most. And it was hard to pick 3 because I had like maybe 5 or 6 that were like in that kind of pocket. So I think my first choice for number 3 is going to be a band, and I had a hard time picking which album to show, but I'll just go with probably my favorite. The band is Arena. Songs from the Lion's Cage is their debut. And, The Visitor I like quite a lot too. So, but I like all of their albums. They're all really good. Really good. I guess you call them neo-prog band, right? This is Clive Nolan and Mick Pointer's band, basically. Now you've got John Mitchell, yeah, who's been a fixture in the band on guitar and vocals and backing vocals for quite a long time. A lot of different singers over the years, all of them great. At times they're heavy, at times they're kind of more atmospheric, but I think if you like bands like IQ and early Marillion, man, Arena should be right up your alley. I've liked them since they first came out, and I still dig all this stuff quite a bit. So that's my number 3, Arena.
Love that first album.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I listened.
There's a new one coming.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
I know it well. Clive Nolan is a great guy.
You party with him, right?
Not only did I party with him, I played with him in Chicago. Yeah,
Very cool.
he's a very cool guy. With him and also with Tina from Magenta, who was mentioned in the pre-chat. Both of them are great friends and they're great people. So we had a great show in Chicago.
Well, tell Clive he's charging too much for his CDs.
No, you tell Clive. I'll just say hi to Clive.
He kind of just did.
There'll be that email tomorrow. It's like from Clive.
Yeah.
And tell Ken.
Ted.
All right, Stephen, back to you.
Okay, so for my second choice, I've gone for a band called Also Eden. Okay, so this is another English act. They debuted in 2006, and then they released their 4th album called Redacted in 2013, and appear to have basically disappeared since then, unfortunately. I've gone for It's Kind of You to Ask, which is their 2nd album from 2008. I've got a real soft spot for Also Eden. They kind of land into an area that I really like, where there's lots of great musicianship. The songcraft is really good, but it's really accessible. There's kind of poppy edges to it. I would maybe put it out there that they've never created a fantastic album from start to finish, but I find an awful lot to love along the way. And they kind of grow on you, they kind of creep up on you. It's the sort of albums that you put on initially and think, yeah, I like this band, but not sure. And then a few months later, you've remembered it all, you're singing it all. The singer, a guy called Hugh Lloyd-Jones, has a lot to do with that. He kind of brings a more accessible edge. And it's a real in that sense. And I quite like bands that are able to take a really kind of complex structure and really nuanced ideas, and they tend to do kind of longer songs. And then kind of hang that real accessibility off it and allow you into the world without too many conditions, while still not making it too simple. So my second choice is also Eden.
Cool. All right, we'll have Chad go. I'm going to step off camera just for a second because I forgot to grab something. So Chad, go right ahead.
All right, this isn't going to take long, Pete, so hurry up.
I'll be right back.
Because somebody stole my thunder.
Ah!
The thunder from down under stole the hammers of the underworld.
Don't you have a backup?
I'm going to my order. You do what you want to do.
Always have a backup. Come on.
I got honorable mentions, but I'm going to stick to my order.
Amateur hour. Come on. Always have a
Oh,
backup.
stop it. I didn't pull out an album that you're the only one that owns the copy of.
I bet
Not
the
everybody
guys.
can do
I
that.
wish that was true.
I bet the guys in Ablution don't have the fucking album.
That's right. That's right.
I bet you they don't even remember they recorded it.
Yes,
Probably.
yes.
Yeah, so Allemande and Basserat is my number 2.
2-1 Yankees. They're both teams are off the Judge home run, Rizzo home run, then Marte home run. So yeah, it's going to be one of those kind of games, I think.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't know if it's going to end well for the Mets, but
yeah, well, we'll see. Yeah. All right, George, back to you.
Number 2, I've talked about before, is Arc, a multinational band. 2 albums right around the turn of the century. Personality conflicts broke them up, but if you haven't heard these guys, they definitely unique. Like a Coverdale meets Dio singer over melodic prog, a shredding guitar player, fretless bass player, a lot of unique. John Macaluso plays a lot of linear beats. Everything each guy has a definite personality, and the whole of it also is the band. You won't be able to say, oh, they sound like this, because they had a pretty unique sound. Unfortunately, didn't play a whole lot of gigs, and they packed it in, but definitely check them out if you haven't. Arc.
I bought that record because of you. It's absolutely stellar. I love it.
they're too good. They were too good.
Good choice.
It was a good
All right, Ken.
All right. I continue to dig. George, I think, has this album. And maybe Pete.
Someone else might.
Ain't Soft.
I have that.
There you go.
Ain't
Ain't
Soft.
Soft. A story of mysterious forest.
Yeah.
So Ain't Soft, they started as called Tenchi Sozo. They changed their name to Ain't Soft. This album came out in 1980, and this album's sort of like it's like a tale of 2 bands. The first side, it's like the best album, Return to Forever, never recorded. It sounds very much similar in spirit to Romantic Warrior. The guitar player and the leader of the band is Yozaki Yamamoto. This guy just totally blazing on guitar from beginning to end. The keyboard player is named Masi Hattori, and he plays these totally sick leads on synthesizer throughout. And for some reason, he was replaced. The next keyboard player on the next album, equally as good. So very high energy. There's some acoustic parts interspersed. But the second side is great, but it's totally different. On the second side of the album, it has the 18-minute title track. It's a little more laid back. It's more symphonic prog. It's got like flavors of Camel. And then they changed, as I said, they changed keyboard players. And the next album is called Hatton Field. As you can imagine, it sounds very much Canterbury, and also great, but in a different way. But if you like fusion, this is the album. This is lethal. And oh man, I love this cover. Oh, if I can
Yeah, that's a good
Cool
one. Yeah.
cover.
it's great. Yeah.
Did they get an issue with a different cover?
No,
Okay.
no, it always, and I guess it's a, yeah, it's a,
So what's the
it's
band
from
name again?
18, the cover was from somebody, Massa Carol.
Soph, it's AINSOPH.
SOPH.
Yeah, Aimsoft, 2 words.
That cover looks like a lost album from Ghost.
It's something from 1893. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's great. And then Hatton Field, there was, I think, a number of years to when they did Hatton Field, and then there was like a long break, and I guess they got back together and they put out more albums. Plus the label put out some archival stuff. There was some live records, some old demo stuff, all of it really good. They may even still be together in some form. I think their last album was a few years ago. So,
Georgia
Great
was
stuff.
shutting that one down right after this show, I think.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's been out on CD, so you could track it down. Yeah, but you know, for me, it's got like that spirit of like of Romantic Warrior. You know, if you like that, you'll love it.
Sounds good.
All right, Lewis.
Okay, I hope I don't, shit on Chad's bed again, but my number 2 is going to be from Sweden, Angra. There you go. So I swear I didn't plan this, but I'll take that. You can give yourself that. I to answer the question, no, I have never partied with them because they don't seem to be the kind of people who like to party. Although Matthios Olsen is my brother, and I have partied with him and toured with him extensively. The rest of the guys, not so much. But I know them all. I love their music, and the album that Chad put up, Ibris, is my favorite by them. Yeah. So Angra.
Why do you like Hybris better than Epilogue?
The opening track.
Absolutely. Your Rock is a smoker.
It's just so fucking good. That
It's a heavier album overall, too.
yeah, it's and I was also lucky enough to watch them play it live in New Jersey. Matthias was no longer in the band, but they just played the whole thing, and live it's even better.
I was there.
Yeah, so well, there you go. I thought it was brilliant.
You didn't party with me.
I didn't party
Two
with
Diet
you.
Cokes, 2 Diet Cokes, and you're a mess.
I know, it's true.
Well, we will soon change that, Ken. And when you
Yes.
get a chance to party with me, you may wish to never do it again. We will do it.
I'm trying to
Remember-
find Malort. I'm trying to find Malort around here, but it
When
can't.
you've had Mexican, you'll never go back again.
Oh boy.
Oof.
Well, my number
There you
2 is also Angra. Yeah, I mean, how can it not be, right?
Now, I knew Luis was going to get me on Alamam and Vassar. I can't believe he got me twice.
I'm so sorry, dude. But you can get me. You can get me on the next round. I'm behind you.
You guys went for the low hanging fruit, man.
Oh, I pick the ones that I listen to the most. So what can I tell you? So yeah, Angra. Back to Stephen.
Well, my other choice has been taken, so I'm going to move it to my honorable mentions. I'm going to do a Ken. So I have kind of given this next act a little bit of a hard time on some of the recent shows. So I will take that back. And I will put Aeon into my top 3. I don't want to preempt the album ranking that myself and Pete have been promising for ever.
A long time.
So I'm not pulling out my favourite album because I really haven't given it all that much consideration, but I've taken out Universal Migrator Parts 1 and 2 because there's a sweet spot in the middle for spoilers for the future when it does happen that to me still puts Aeon right at the top of that kind of theatrical, multicast, story-led, but still musically fantastic prog that's out there. Arjun has a sound all of his own. Yes, it pulls from lots of places that we've heard from before, but there are certain traits and tricks that are used across most of his projects that immediately leave you in it no doubt that he's the guy that's driving them. And that's a bit of a skill in itself because not everyone
Is that, Stephen, the album, one of the two records where he has Bruce Dickinson as a guest, one of the tracks?
Oh, and I would tell you a lie to tell you if Dickinson's on this one. I'm not 100% sure.
There's one that has a black cover and then one that has a light cover, right?
Yeah, he's on that one.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I remember that record.
And I know Aryan's probably watching. So this album ranking that Stephen and I have been talking about for the last probably 2 years, we will get to that fair as soon as we can. So, because I know a lot of people have asked for it. So yeah, that'll be coming at some point. So good pick, Stephen. All right, Chad, back to you.
All right. Well, you heard that my number one was stolen, so I'll go to one of my honorable mentions too. And this is a band I discovered when I was up in the Finger Lakes years ago. I happened to hear it on local radio in Ithaca, in New York, and it's a jam/space rock band called Aqueous. I don't know if you've ever heard of these guys. Got a little Humphreys McGee and maybe a little Fish feel in there. Some good spaciness, decent vocals, but real catchy stuff. Good grooves. Just cool album. I like this more than the other ones I've heard, but this one's called Cycles. Good space rock, jammy, groovy prog album. Recommended. So there you go.
Heard of them. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's check them out. All right, George, your number one pick.
Yeah, like you, I went with a band that I listened to the most easily, which is the Swedish band Andromeda. The first two are technical, high energy prog metal. The next two, they add an accessible edge. And then the last one, I can't honestly recommend. It's just not up to par in the songwriting wise and a lot of kooky lyrics, but it's just well done in the typical prog metal style, but atypical performance and production values. So Andromeda.
Very cool. Yeah, those early albums are great.
Do they exist still, or are they done?
Technically, yes, but they haven't had an album in 11 years.
You know what, George? I think I might ask you that already once, but I can't. I got the olds, so right.
We all do. Yeah. All right, Ken.
All right, so my number one. This is an album I kind of forgot about, and I was picking through the A's, and I came across. I said, "This is a great album." And this is truly a great album. One of the best prog albums I've ever heard. And I forgot how great it was. Spanish band Attila. And Luis, maybe I'll put you to good use. What's the name of the album? I can't pronounce.
I can't read it. Bring it closer.
Revivere?
Revivere. I will.
Reiure.
Reviure. Revivere.
Is that Spanish?
That's probably Catalan, because that's not in Spanish.
I mean, I had like 5 years of Spanish, and
that's not a word in Spanish.
And I could barely speak it. So, I could barely speak the language. So,
no, that's not a word.
Attila, they were a Catalonian quartet. This was technically their third album. First album was called Beginning of the End. Then they made an album called Intención, which was more or less a remake of Beginning of the End. Beginning of the End is like a $2,000 album. Reviewer is how I pronounce it. This is their third album. This one came out on EMI. I think it was 1976.
According to Google Translate, it means to relive.
Relive, that's right.
There you go. So the album. So it's 4 long tracks. It's virtually all instrumental. There are some vocals on one track. The soloing on guitar and keyboards are absolutely insane. The guitar player, Eduardo Niebla, he actually has a career. He went on to doing some jazz with Antonio Forcione later on. Here he plays with this sort of I hear like an Andy Latimer fluidity to his style, but he has this real like psychedelic intensity. There's lots of mini Moog soloing. I mean, it's like over the top. You get some mellotron, you get some organ. The soloing goes back and forth. It kind of reminds me of Iceberg in a way. Compositionally, though, they can't make up their minds if they're like a symphonic rock band or a space rock band. And somehow they kind of blend it. They throw some Mediterranean flavor in there. And somehow the whole thing comes together. It's really incredible. It's one of the best Spanish prog albums of all time. It's right up there with Gothique or Triana's Best. Apparently there were rights issues with it, so it never got a legit CD reissue up until about 3 years ago. It got one in Japan. I think Marquis put it out on Bell Antique. And I think it's kind of pricey. I think you can find copies on Discogs. Absolutely, if you don't know this album, it's almost mandatory. This is spectacular album. Absolutely spectacular.
And no relation to the U.S. Attila featuring a very young
Billy Joel
playing.
No,
metal, right?
no, but yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to play it for you guys. It's something you need to hear. This has got the real magic.
Cool.
Great record.
I look forward to hearing it.
And Intención is good too. This one, Revere, that's dynamite.
Cool.
Thanks, Jim.
All right, Luis, you're number one.
All right, my number one is going to come from Italy. It's the band Aria that I absolutely love. I think you really can't go wrong with any of the first 4 studio albums, but the one from '73, the first one is my favorite. But they're all great. Those first 4 are just. A lot of people mention Crack as their favorite one, but I prefer the first one. Arbeit mich frei, or however you pronounce it. I can't say German words, but it's Demetrius Stratos is. The thing with Italian prog is that the singers are always brilliant, right? But Demetrius Stratos was in a league of his own, in my view. And I know that people, it's politics, but I like the lyrics and I like what they're trying to say. And I think it's just really powerful, well-made music that it would be great if other people knew about, you know? So for me, it's Aria for sure, number one.
Yeah, I think Crack, for whatever reason, always seems to be the kind of go-to album for a lot of people. Maybe because the one that's most over the top. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
And the ones that came before it, I think, are
They're so good.
Yeah. It's a good pick. All right, my number one is from the UK, and this wasn't even close. By far, they were my favorite. Call them prog, call them proto-metal. They're kind of a bit of both. It's Atomic Rooster. Death Walks Behind You is my favorite album by them. There they are. Vincent Crane, John Duquesne and Company, Mr. Hammond there. And of course, their first album features a very, very young Carl Palmer. There he is, right there. Yeah, great band. Great songs. It's heavy, it's complex, it's loads of Hammond organ, blistering guitar, great drumming. I mean, just amazing stuff. I love the first couple of Atomic Rooster albums, and such an, I think, important and like underrated band in like early proto prog and proto metal. So because these albums were like 1970, 1969, 1970, something like that. Well, both 1970. So yeah, Atomic Rooster is my number one. Honorable mention, Stephen, you want to rattle off a bunch?
I've got 5 sitting here because obviously more than that would be self-indulgent, wouldn't it? I'll rattle off 3 quick ones because Arena have already been mentioned and I talk about them quite a lot on the channel. This is Contagion. It's got a guy called Rob Soden on vocals. And I just love this album. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, it's a concept album about a pandemic. Long before all of this sort of nonsense. Aeon Zen, this is transversal. This is their most recent and final album, which is more of an EP, but it's just a fantastic, accessible, melodic, but still technical prog release. Really like them. Astra, who've already been covered briefly. Really like them. Excellent band. And a couple of more curio ones. This is Atomworks, who are a Finnish neo-prog kind of band. The album is called The Life of Spice. And it's a really involved concept album. They pull everything from Dream Theater to Symphony X to Galahad to Genesis, and they just put it all together. Yes, you've heard the influences before, but bloody hell do they do it really well. This was quite a real stunner that I got through for review from yourself, Pete, many moons ago. I say many moons ago, I'm trying to remember actually when it was released. 2019, not that many moons ago. Not that many moons ago. It just tells you what my life's been like. So this is Atomworks, really, really good. It's one of those ones that I was fortunate enough to be sent. Never seen or heard very much about it anywhere else. Highly recommended. And the Anabasis is the other one that I've picked out. And that is, it's a one-off. They were listed as a band, probably more of a project. This is Back from Being Gone. And it's another really kind of involved concept album. It's all about the classical eras going back through the ages, Greeks and Romans and all that kind of thing. Barry Thompson is the main songwriter on the album, with a guy called George Andrade, who did all the lyrics and wrote the concept, and it is actually very good, I have to say. But you've got Roy Okamoto on there, you've got funnily enough Lee Abraham on there. It's just a really tight, excellent prog album that, same again, just got absolutely no notice when it came out. So that's my honourable mentions.
Cool. Chad.
Okay, I got a couple honorable mentions. One would be Anecdotin, that was mentioned already. All Traps on Earth from a couple of the Anglagard guys. It's I forget who's on it.
Oh, the bass player.
Yeah,
Johan Brandt.
Johan Brandt.
Yeah.
Yep, sorry. Yep.
His
And
daughter,
Thomas
right?
Jansson's on it as well.
Yep.
Yeah, it's Anglagard-ish. Very solid album. I have to do it because I have to do it, but I always loved the Anderson Bruford Wakeman Howe album. That was my first foray into Yes Live when back in 1989. But so having a classic Yes lineup, putting an album out at that time for me was great. So I had to throw that in there. And my last one's going to be the Amorphous Androgynous.
Yeah.
Great spacey, Eloy, Pink Floyd-y album. Some vocals in there from Peter Hamill, not in your typical Vandergraaf way, for those who are not fond of his voice, but his voice is there and present and very cool the way they use him. And yeah, lots of recurring themes. Real nice listen. Great headphone album. Highly recommend. And
That is
killer
One of the
art.
great album
Killer
covers
art.
of all time. Look at that. Yeah, that's amazing. I forgot all about that. That's such a good album. Such a good album. Very cool. George.
I got three. First one is Angra. More or less a Brazilian power metal band that with some progressive flourishes, but particular albums they lean into their progressive side, and this being one of them.
Holy Land.
A lot of flutes and strings and intricate arrangements and stuff. Another good one is Temple of Shadows, but this is the one I most recommend, Holy Land. Yeah. Our Tension. This a shrapnel band. They're like kind of like Rainbow with shredding and a more heavier edge, slight power metal in spots, but you like the Rainbow melodic metal style, that you like that one. And my obscure pick would be Anomaly,
I remember that.
a band from the Netherlands.
Instrumental.
Like a jazzier Planet X, all instrumental stuff, super high quality, hard to get. It's been long out of print, but if you search it down, you'll finally get it. I finally did, so you could probably get it too. Anomaly, self-titled.
I still have that one. That was a good album. What happened to them?
Yeah, one and done.
Too many of them good one and dones, right?
Very well. You guys might want to order out a sandwich because I got a long list.
All right, here we go.
So what I didn't want to talk about was Astra Temple. Agitation Free, and Anglagard, because I talk about them all the time. I've mentioned them to death. Stephen, that was very rude. Remember, evil knows evil. So so I'm just going to run through. I'm not holding up album covers. I don't want to hold up 20 album covers. Laurie Anderson had Mr. Heartbreak, Anekdoten, Vamad, Anyone's Daughter, Adonis, great German symphonic prog. Astra, I had the Black Chord, Accordo dei Contrari, Italian jazz rock.
Good one.
Danish prog band from the early 70s, Ache, the Green Man. Another German jazz rock band, Era, not to be confused with Aria. They were Aera. Excuse me, that album called Hand und Fuss. That was great. British band Affinity, recorded for Vertigo with Linda Hoyle on vocals. American technical metal band Agora. George, I'm surprised you didn't mention Agora.
Yeah.
Agora made, they made actually, I guess 3 albums. I didn't even realize that there was a 3rd one.
I didn't either. Wow. Jesus.
Yeah.
All instrumental. It's okay. They missed the vocals.
Yeah. And the first two albums were excellent. Second, 2 different vocalists, both very good. Agusa. I like the new Agusa and Anand Vard. Norwegian band Airbag, all rights removed. I think Airbag's quite good. A little bit of Radiohead mixed with Porcupine Tree. Swedish psychedelic classic Algarna Stradgard from Tiden are et Svavanda Skep. All Traps on Earth was on my list. Alpha Taurus, one of the great one and done Italian bands. Well, actually, then they reformed, I guess, and they made another album. That actually wasn't too bad. Another one and done Italian band, Elusifalax. Then nobody mentioned Ange, French band. Ange, Adela du Délire is my favorite. Another band that was originally in my top 3 and then I knocked them out was Anyone's Daughter, Adonis. I think that's a great symphonic album. Aphrodite's Child, 666. Japanese prog fusion band Asturias, Circle in the Forest. They were on the cover of the very first Laser's Edge catalog I did in 1988, spring 1988. US prog band that I reissued called Atlantis Philharmonic. And then another band I worked with for a number of years, and Rick would kill me if I didn't mention them, a Triggering Myth. They,
Oh yeah.
See, I put them under T.
I always file them under A. So Rick will wait for you to mention them when you get to T.
He'll be back.
And that great album with Scott McGill and Vic Stevens playing on it. And that's what I got. I mean, I didn't want to have to pull out 20 covers and file away 20 covers.
I hear you. Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. All right, Lewis.
All right, I'm going to mention a couple that were not mentioned yet. From Belgium, Aranis. Those guys are great. They had Dave Kerman on drums, and it's like orchestra prog or chamber prog. Of course, Art Zoid, I think, is a phenomenal band from France. I think they were formed in the late 60s. This is like an institution of music. And Steve Feigenbaum put out a box set not that long ago that if you don't have it, I guess it's probably near impossible to get, but it's really good. It's just one of those great bands if you like that style of chamber prog. And of course, nobody mentioned them yet, so I'm going to go ahead and mention them now. Aristocrats with Brian Beller, with Guthrie Govan, and of course, Marco Miniman. Those dudes kill. I just didn't put them ahead because I didn't want to be too obvious, but they're awesome. So I'm going to go see him when I get back to the States.
I forgot all about the Aristocrats. Shit. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. My probably number 4 here is Arion, without a doubt. But other bands, one that their first 2 albums are total prog. The rest of their stuff is more like AOR. But Ambrosia, I mean, those first 2 albums, right? Really, really good stuff. Another band that I'm surprised nobody mentioned. I believe they're from Hungary, After Crying.
Yes. Yes.
Are they still together or are they done?
I don't think they're together.
Yeah, I mean, God, we haven't seen anything from them in over a decade, I would think, right?
Oh, and also Amarok from Spain.
And then there was also Alas from South America.
Yep.
That's
I would throw Avant-Garde in there.
Avant-Garde.
True. Yes. Yes.
Avant-Garde. Yeah, I saw them play at
Prog Day.
at a Prog Day.
Yeah, they were great. They woke people up that Sunday morning.
Who else I got? I got Aqua Fragile. I have as well on my list. Aria I had on my list. Anecdote, and I had RT Mystieri.
Yep.
Great band, right? Ein Sof I had on my list. Elucephalix I had on my list. Astra I had on my list. Arc, Ashra Temple, Alpha Taurus, Agitation Free. That's what I got. So there's some I forgot. I mean, it's so many, right? So many.
Crazy.
Yeah. So there you have it, everybody. That's just A. We're just getting started here. So stay tuned next week for the letter B. B comes after A. And yeah, I mean, I can anticipate that some of these letters might be a little tough, but that's the fun of this, because then we really got to dig deep, right?
No, wait until we get to Q.
I was thinking that before, Ken. I was like, all right, I know one right off the bat. I'm like,
This could be 6 Queensryche, and then
Ew, what about X?
yeah, X, yeah, exactly. Oof.
Don't throw them all out there yet.
Nope, not yet. Exactly. Steven's like,
George got Xerxes falling leaves, right?
all right, so you all watching know how this goes. So on these shows, we're going to tell you our 3 for that letter. It's everybody plays along in this game. So all of you folks watching, down in the comments below, we want to see hundreds of comments, everybody talking about your 3 favorite prog metal fusion bands that start with the letter A, whether it's an artist or a band. So start typing away down below. And we're going to do this each and every week going forward. Like I said, we may break up every couple of weeks. We may break up and do something completely different along the lines of what we normally do here. But this series is going to run till we get to the letter Z, whenever the hell that might be. Probably around Christmas time is my guess. So we'll see how it goes. So thanks for watching. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. All together, all the damn time. Make sure you go to lasercd.com to get all the latest and greatest and classic prog and prog metal infusion stuff, courtesy of the professor over there. And we look forward to Louis Nasser coming back onto American soil. And when are you gonna be back?
August 6th.
Oh, so right around the corner. Okay.
Yeah.
And just so everybody knows, on August 13th, there's actually a very special thing happening. So you will see a bonus video from this little event that's going on. So more to come on that. I'm not going to spoil the surprise yet. So stay tuned for that. And for Stephen Reed, Chad Hutchinson, George Lemie, Ken Golden, and Louis Nasser, I am Pete Pardo. Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching In the Prog Seat. Tune in next week for the letter B. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.